I want to tell you a story. It's about one single day, one terrible prank that completely changed my life forever. It's about the very people who were supposed to love and protect me, and how, in my moment of greatest need, they chose to look the other way.
Yeah, those are the words my own father yelled at me right as I was lying on the concrete, completely paralyzed, unable to feel a thing in my legs. It was the most profound dismissal you can imagine. But here's the thing, it wasn't the first time, not even close. It was really the culmination of an entire lifetime of being told my pain simply didn't matter. So to really get why that moment was so devastating, we have to go back, way back. You have to understand what my childhood was like. I basically spent it walking on eggshells in a family that cared way more about how things looked on the outside than how I was actually doing on the inside. I mean, just look at this. This timeline really lays out the whole painful pattern. My older brother, Jason, he was the golden child. He could do no wrong. And me? I was the scapegoat. It started small, a broken wrist when I was 7, that was my fault. But then it got worse. At 12, he locked me in the basement during a terrifying thunderstorm, and I was accused of making it up. Every single time, his cruelty was excused, and my pain was just invalidated. It really messes with your head. It taught me to question my own reality. And this was my father's favorite line. It didn't matter if I had a scraped knee or a broken heart or a broken wrist. The response was always the same. The message was loud and clear. My suffering wasn't real pain. It was a character flaw, a weakness I had to get over. So I learned to just shut up about it, to mistrust my own feelings.
So, fast forward a few years, I get an invite to Jason's 31st birthday party, and honestly, I was filled with this sense of dread. I knew exactly what it was going to be like, but I went anyway. I guess a part of me always held out hope that maybe, just maybe, things had changed. Spoiler alert, they hadn't. And yep, it was the Jason show, just like I thought. He was holding court in the backyard, surrounded by his buddies, just soaking up all the attention. My whole goal for the day was just to fly under the radar. Make a quiet exit and just survive it. I was trying my best to just be invisible.
And then, of course, it happened. He started trotting out his greatest hits of cruelty, using my past humiliations as his party entertainment. And hearing all of them laughing at the memory of me having to wear hats for weeks to hide these bald patches in my hair. That was it. That was my breaking point. I was done. I just had to get out of there. So to leave, I had to walk from the backyard back into the house, and the only way was across this brand new fancy pool deck my dad was so proud of. It was just a short walk, maybe 20 feet, but it turned out to be the walk that changed my entire life. In that split second of stepping onto the deck, I knew something was very, very wrong. My foot just shot out from under me. My whole body was thrown completely off balance. And it's weird, time just slowed down. I can still see Jason watching me with this cruel little smirk on his face. And then just a horrific, sickening impact. My lower back and my head slammed into the concrete edge of the pool.
And this was the moment, the ultimate betrayal. I'm lying there, terrified, because I can't feel anything below my waist, and my desperate pleas for help were met with the same old lines. My mother actually accused me of faking it to ruin Jason's party. Can you believe that? My agony was, yet again, just an inconvenience to them.
And then, through this fog of pain and fear and just disbelief, this new voice cut through all the noise. A stranger's voice. It was one of the party guests, a woman named Rachel. Turns out she was an ER nurse, and she immediately saw what my own family refused to see, the clear signs of a severe spinal cord injury. She was the very first person that day to take my pain seriously. Rachel's intervention was a complete game changer. She didn't just prevent more damage by screaming at everyone not to move me, but she set off a chain reaction that my family couldn't ignore or sweep under the rug anymore. Someone called 911. The police showed up, and for the first time, the truth was about to come out. At the hospital, the diagnosis came in, and it was devastating. An incomplete spinal cord injury, which resulted in paraplegia. The doctor explained that incomplete was actually a small silver lining. It meant the cord wasn't totally severed. He said to think of it like a frayed electrical cable instead of one that's been cut clean through.
Some signals could still get through, which meant there was a chance for some recovery. But still, the diagnosis was absolutely life-shattering. So back at the party, with paramedics there and Rachel, this expert nurse, telling them how serious it was, the truth finally spilled out. Jason confessed. He admitted he'd poured deck oil all over the boards as a joke. He thought it would be funny to watch me slip and fall into the pool. His prank, his deliberate action, was the direct reason I was now paralyzed. And this time, things were different. For the first time in my entire life, there were real, tangible consequences for their actions. As you can see here, Jason was charged with felony reckless endangerment. He got 5 years, 2 of them actually in prison. And my parents, they were charged with criminal negligence for just standing there and yelling at me instead of helping. The legal system finally did what my family never, ever had. It validated what happened to me and held them accountable. After about 2 weeks in the hospital's acute care unit, the real work began. And let me tell you, it was a long, grueling journey of recovery. The legal stuff was one piece of the puzzle, but learning to live in a brand new body, a whole new reality, that was another battle entirely. My entire life became this demanding routine of therapy. Physical therapy to train strength in whatever muscles I could still control. Occupational therapy to relearn the most basic daily tasks, like just getting dressed by myself. And a lot of trauma counseling. Not just to process the injury, but to unpack the lifetime of emotional abuse that led up to it. We also filed a separate civil lawsuit. And look, this was never about a payday. It was about making sure I'd have the resources I needed for a lifetime of care. It ended up with a $3 million settlement, which created a trust fund for all my medical bills, the modifications for my home, all my future needs. That money came from their insurance and from the forced sale of their house. A huge turning point for me came from my therapist, Claire. She said this to me one day, and it was like a light bulb went off. For my whole life, I thought I needed my family's apology, their acknowledgement to feel okay. But she helped me realize that my healing, my recovery, was my own journey. It had nothing to do with them. And, once I really grasped that, my whole perspective started to change. I slowly started to move from feeling like a victim of what they did to me to feeling like the author of my own story. This horrible trauma wasn't going to be the end of my story. It was going to be the beginning of a whole new chapter. I started to turn all that pain into a new purpose. I became a peer mentor at the same rehab center that helped me. I went back to school, got my master's, and started a new career helping teachers support kids who are dealing with trauma. And maybe most importantly, I built a new family, a chosen family, made up of friends who love and support me no matter what. About a year after my injury, I got this letter from Jason from prison. And it was the first real, genuine apology I had ever gotten from him in my entire life. It didn't magically fix everything, of course it didn't. But it was an acknowledgement. It was a piece of closure I honestly never thought I'd get. But here's the most profound lesson I took away from this whole ordeal. While Jason's apology was something, my healing had already started long before that letter arrived. It started the moment I began to validate myself. My truth, my pain, my experience, all of it was real and valid, whether my family ever admitted it or not. So, I really want to leave you with this question to think about. Because while my story is, pretty extreme, that feeling of being dismissed is incredibly common. So how do you do it? How do you find the strength to trust your own reality, to validate your own experiences, when the people around you, or even the world, tells you you're wrong? It's a powerful and I think a truly revolutionary act.